This is the director. He also co-wrote, co-edited, and co-produced the movie, and it's Carlos Marques Marcet.
Thank you.
So I wanted to share with you a funny story about shooting Google and the bizarre fact that he's actually here.
Well, it's actually a very long story. It's very weird to me be in this building because, as you saw, there's like a photograph of this building in the movie of the binoculars. The funny thing is, like, so when we were doing the script of the movie, my photographer friend, who inspired the movie, actually, he's a man, but I changed the gender. But so he came to visit me, and then we decided, he read the script and say, oh, this photographer doesn't work like that. I'll come to Los Angeles, we'll make a project. We got a grant from an art, institution, and UCLA, help us and everything. And it's okay, we'll give you like support so you can make this art project before making the movie. So, you have on one side the art project, and the other side you have the movie, and we'll use the art project to use it in the movie. The funny thing is, like, okay, so we started working one thing, we shot on the antennas, and then the antennas give us the idea, and then we shot the Google building, but we didn't know it was Google at the time, because actually when we took the picture, it wasn't bought. And then the news came on, Google has bought. And it's like, oh, somehow it gives us the key to, oh, maybe that's what the photographic project needs to be, just randomly because it got bought. So then it's like, okay, we start to think, about all the tools, all the physical, you see the physicality of internet, because we wonder, okay, internet, but where is internet? Like filmmakers, we shot things, we shot things that you can touch, that you can see, you don't shoot ideas. So it was like, how do you shoot the internet? It's like, where is it? It's something, where is it? I want to see it. So that was our, trying to find, these servers and everything, but also like, Google Maps, we were obsessed with Google Maps, and just this thing that you can travel all around the world, and it's just like, it reminds me a lot to the Lumiere brothers, that with the two screens, the Lumiere brothers, they were the first one doing films, well, in America it's Edison, but for the rest of the world it's the Lumieres, and I love it. So basically they do panoramics of the world all around, just to show, people how was Istanbul, how was, these countries they've never seen before in France, and it's like, whoa. And I feel nowadays Google Maps makes the same thing, you just Google Street View, and you can have the same panoramic view of anywhere in the world. But anyway, we were like obsessed, and it's like, okay, we have to photograph the tools, also, let's photograph the Google car. And then it was like impossible, we got the letter and everything with, how do you reach Google? It's like, it seems very funny, but it's like we try any ways, like all the emails, all the contacts possible, through the university, through something else. There was no way. Even we came to not these offices, because they were still in the other offices in Santa Monica. We went there to the door and trying to ask somebody if, knock on the on the bell ring, can we get in? We're not bad people, we're not crazy people, we just want to talk with Google. And it was impossible to talk with Google. And then we decided, okay, you cannot talk with Google, Google talks with you. That was actually what happened. Now I'm in the building. But in a funny way, so we decided just, okay, let's go to the Silicon Valley, let's go to Google City. There's a place where Google is. So we just went there and we just looked for the Google car, and we found it, in some corner, and then we just took the tripod, took the picture, and went. And then it was funny because it was so hard, but then when we asked for permission, Google said, yeah, fine, use the picture. And then it's like, it's everything fine. It's just like the weird structure of the internet that makes, there's no center, so you don't really can reach, any center at any point. And it was like very like being in the castle, a little bit Kafkian at this moment. And even like, it's funny because that's how all the artistic projects started, because then we were in Silicon Valley, that for me is like the most strange place in the world. It's like very weird, like all these buildings there. And then it's like we start taking all the pictures, and that's where all the email at the end, she says all the ideas came from, But the funny thing, when we went to Yahoo, we did the same thing. We just took the tripod, we went to this basket Corfield, you say? Yeah, I think. So put the camera, took the picture and left, with no permission or anything. And then we send it, okay, that's in the movie, so let's ask for permission. And then they say, oh, it's fine, but this is the old logo. You know, maybe you can Photoshop it and put the new logo. So that's basically what we did. So it was like it was like an experience to deal with all like new technology companies that they have like different mentality that that it's still I don't understand, but it was kind of Kafkian.
So, Carlos, I did some research on you, and I had a quote from you about a movie that you really loved, an Italian movie from 1963. And I'm sorry, you'll have to actually pronounce it.
It's I fidanzati.
Right, and the director?
Hermano Olmi.
And so it was a remarkable, first scene. It was I think the first 3 minutes there's one word spoken, and yet you're already captured and intrigued with what happens, why did she do that? And so I wanted to ask you, you start this movie with a couple making love, right? It's really kind of right there. It's not vulgar, it's very tasteful, natural, but it starts the movie and it ends the movie. Why did you choose to do that?
Well, to me, there's something about sexuality that is the most intimate language that couples have, and somehow it was a way to show, like this evolution, this change, I think sometimes I get a little bit annoyed when you see like movies that just try to show you sex to get you horny. Sometimes it's fine, Sometimes you are in the mood and that's great actually, thanks.
But that wasn't why you did it.
That wasn't what I did it, and sometimes it's just when it's not. I like when it has a meaning, when it's doing something. So to me, it was just kind of doing a dialogue between two people, just not with words, but with bodies.
Yeah, I love it. So I know that your background initially, I know you studied filmmaking, but you started as an editor. And I was just wondering, so when I started in TV news, I started as an editor. And I remember being on the field and really feeling my stories. Like I would hear the sound bite, my story is going to start like this. That's the sound. So do you feel that your way of even writing a movie has been affected by the fact that you were initially an editor?
Yeah, no, I think the whole concept of the movie was already very editing based, the length of the shots, just calculating how long the scenes were going to be, short scenes with long scenes. The pacing was already very present on the writing, I feel. Even when this very starting long take, but it's already written as an editing long take. So I was already planning as if it's hard to say, but to explain. But you basically think on shots and how to transition to one to another in a way that you will do on editing, but just without cutting. Somehow, that has to be in the writing too.
Yeah.
The way they go to some place to another, and how this, time happens in one side or, in which pace and which action. So it's already, I think basically editing is like music, it's like playing music, and there's something of it that was already present in the script. I have no ear, so I'm horrible with music, so it's kind of my way of trying to get something with that.
Was this the movie you thought you were going to make?
Oh, sorry.
When you have the finished product, was that the movie you thought you were going to make?
So, to me, that's like, for many directors, that's their goal, they have a movie in their mind, they want to see it on the screen, and it's like, yes, I'm happy because it looks like what I imagined. To me, it happens a little bit the opposite when I'm shooting. It's like, if I shoot a scene that is exactly as I expected, as I imagined, something is wrong, I know, I like to go to shoot and get something that I didn't expect.
Okay.
I shoot a lot of takes sometimes, just waiting that something, new happens, that it's not on the script, that is better. Sometimes reality brings you something that surprises you. So I will say yes, it's very similar in some ways, but the parts that I like the most are the parts that are not as similar,
Yeah.
So, like, for example, one of my favorite moments of the movie is the moment where, in the last scene, when they are, drinking whiskey, and there's like this long silence, and the dog starts barking, that's probably one of my favorite moments of the movie, and of course, this dog starts barking by itself, I just told to the actors, just wait until the dog stops. And then you can, start talking. And then, it never stopped. So then it became like this absurd moment that was exactly what the scene needed. And it's like, oh, thanks, there's something, that I couldn't give that direction, that wouldn't have existed in my mind. And So that's what I'm always searching for. I get this, it's almost like a drug, a rush of something unexpected happening.
Did the actors bring something to the movie that you hadn't expected? Perhaps something you liked?
Yeah, no, a lot, like, of course, like David, the sense of humor of it, like it always was thought of as a drama, but then shooting it, we had so much fun, like working, we're laughing so much, and then suddenly the movie got much more lighter than I originally intended, and it became much more, I feel like the audiences laugh a lot. I was surprised even because it wasn't planned like this, but it's just what it came with them. And I don't know, and Natalia's energy, the character was more like a quiet character, and she still is, but Natalia, the actress, she's like a tornado. She's like, ah! Not like the character at all, but I think she brings this somehow in little doses to her character. That's very interesting. I think they changed the character. Originally, she was not British. It's when we cast her that we decided, actually, if she's British, it could work better. So I always work with whatever I have on my hands. And it's not like, you got a script that says, like, in exterior, day, sunny. And then you go, it's raining. We don't shoot. To me, it's more like, it's raining. What happens if it's raining? So let's try to figure out.
You shot it on a red Epic camera, right? So was that hard to shoot with the low lighting, the resolution? Did you had to light it a particular way?
Yeah, it was kind of an issue sometimes, like Alexas now, or like they got more better, low light, But at the same time, I like to use the Epic because it has the 4K that you can, we plan a little bit of reframings, already, not doing it in post, but already shooting it, we are planning them. So that's why we decided to shoot with the Epic. And the problem is, like, for example, for this first scene, we shoot with the lights. You don't have anywhere to, to hide the lights. You just basically have to use windows. And that's me with Dalmar, the DP, she's an amazing director of photography. We basically always think of lighting spaces, and that's how we function. So we light the space, and I make the blocking with the actors, thinking already what's the possibilities of the space. So basically, I use the props because I don't like to use marks. I don't like the actors saying, you have to step in. They can do it, but to me, I just want to be totally free to be able to create. So I put, here is the coffee pot, so I know he needs to go to take it's his mark. The props are their marks. So then we work with, knowing where the props are and where we're going to put the light.
And do you like red cameras in particular?
Yeah, no, I enjoy them a lot, like a lot of DPs they prefer, like Alexa Saris. I like them a lot too, but there's something about the red that it's true, it has its own specific colors and everything, but I really enjoy, and I enjoy having the 4K and being able, like, sometimes it can be very dangerous if you just use, because in cinema you have 4K now, so normally you end up screening 2K, so basically you can do reframings and move the camera, and it can become you can become a lazy filmmaker, like, but if you plan it well and if you if you kind of think it in a way that is part of your language, not as something you do as a way of trying to solve problems, but as a way of as a creative tool, I think it has a lot of possibilities.
So I hear the red's fairly heavy. Did you use it like is it gyro stabilizer for the walking shot or the movement shot? So you didn't have.
It's all in tripod. It's all in tripod and with an old machine. It's all very big. I like, like some people use Steadicams as a way to substitute, a dolly, but it's not the same. It's dolly. There's actually I feel like very few filmmakers who know how to use a Steadicam. Normally, a lot of times it's just like an easy tool to use But to me, the problem was like, because it makes your life much easier, For us, it would have been much easier to go, with a Steadicam here and there. But the problem with the Steadicams is that they are called Steadicam, but they never stay steady. They always have like this, like, little, and floating and everything. Yeah. So for us, it was important to stay at that moment with them. So we use like these old machines, like in the 1940s, just with smaller cameras. But it's beautiful. There's something. When you see like Douglas Sirks, they make these traveling with these like even huge cameras. Now they are small compared to you can feel the weight of the, going with the wind, and then it's like, wow, there's something about that is very beautiful, I feel, of being on the ground.
I also read that you said that you don't choose a movie; it chooses you. So I feel like sometimes when you're in a relationship, there's a moment where you're like, "Oh, that was when I fell in love with him." And was there a moment when this movie chose you?
That's a good question. There's a moment, there's a first moment when it makes a click, you know, that's like, normally it happens when I have ideas for movies, even with shorts before and everything. It's like, I have this idea floating, this other idea floating, and then suddenly it just makes like click. In that case was, there's like internet, you know, and you know, I wanted to explore all the language, long distance relationship, the language of webcams and screens, and then my friend, you know, Aleix Pladamunt, the photographer, came to visit me, and then it all made like click, click, click. Oh yes, a photographer coming to Los Angeles, and then it's like boom, they are born, and there's like a spark that goes in there, and then it's like, okay, that's an idea, and that grabs you, and it doesn't leave you. I think it's almost like first sight love, you know. It's mostly that afterwards you kind of hate it, you know, like in a relationship you fall in love at the moment, and then you are 7 years together, and then you know there's no sex or anything, and then you have to fall in love again, you know, and go dinner, and then you can't fall in love. So it's mostly like re-falling in love again and again and again.
Okay. You said that the last scene was emotionally challenging for you. I wanted to know why.
I guess it's, of course, you know, there's a personal part on the story, but I haven't lived exactly. I've never gone to a door, nobody has come never to my door. But there was something about this material of you know, just showing a breakup, you know. Somehow, when they asked me if this movie is autobiographical, you know, it is and it is not in many ways, but maybe it's a sum up of all my failed relationships, you know, and somehow it was trying to confront, you know, your what happens when you still love somebody, but you know that you cannot have a life together, you know, and trying to really go deep into this moment and not plan it, you know. I was very concerned of going into the scene with very pre-formed ideas, you know. I wanted to be vulnerable, me as a director too, you know, of not really knowing what needs to be, you know. So I know what I want to capture, but I don't know how. And just, it was very funny actually in the rehearsals we did with the actors, they always explain the story, because I couldn't, you know, I normally record the rehearsals, when this time it's just like, I just left them alone, and they were like having sex, and then they turned like, where is the director? And it was like, but you know, but then when you're in set, you have to be like, I think it was Herzog who said, a director can never cry in set, and it's true, you know, you have to be very like cold-minded and being able to analyze, to just guide the actors and tell them, you know, this is not working here or there, this is happening. You have to be like, almost like a scientific there, also corresponding, you know, and being sympathetic with their feelings, but being able to analyze them. And I was very afraid to have to do these both things at the same time, you know, being able to have your, you know, your right and left side of your brain connected, and at the same time confront it in a way that is the ending of your movie. And it actually, we didn't shot it until the night before. I was watching like movies, like sex scenes and everything. Maybe I had a solution, of course, all stupid. But then, you know, it was like we didn't shot it until the last shot, almost like. And you know, I guess I was looking for this magic to happen, where it's like, oh yeah, it's cut. It's like right in the moment when the sun is coming out, the DP is going to get married, you know, the taxi's on the floor, she's missing her plane, and you know, these dramatic moments that then happen, and it gives you a rush, you know. Like at the end, I feel like filmmakers, we make movies for the pleasure of making them, and to this little like rush moment. So I guess it was like a way of pushing myself into this limit situation. You know, of course, I'm not doing like Fritz Carraldo and sending, you know, a boat over, you know, over a mountain, but still you have like, you are looking for this moment where something magical, some kind of truth happens, or you feel that happens for yourself, at least.
So if that was the most challenging part of the movie emotionally, what was probably the most fun or the most awesome moment for you in the movie?
There was a lot of fun moments, you know, from the moment where they are trying to throw things one
Oh,
to
yeah, that was
another, and then it
cool.
was like, and then when it happened, we tried so many times that it was every time was fun, like I do a lot of takes, so but we try to make it funny, and then when it happened, we all look at each other, it was like, whoa, it looked like it went through, and also like I don't know, there was like a lot of like the first scene was a lot of fun, because it's like a choreography, and then it's just like it gets you also like a rush, because it's like, okay, you're getting closer to the time, but you know that still it's like 20 minutes, and everything needs to be perfect. So, and when it happened, you just go crazy, and we shout. It seems like it was like the end of the world, and hugging, and everybody sad, and it was something special. It was fun to shoot.
So I want to read you a quote that I read that you wrote. I hope you don't mind.
No, you're very well prepared. Probably like the best prepared
Thanks.
interview I had.
So you wrote, it's a problem with our generation. It's difficult to plan for the future, not just because of the financial crisis, but also because of hedonism. And it's the antithesis of sacrifice. And this whole debate on what self-sacrifice means is also interesting. I think I quote you from March 2014. So I wanted to ask you, in that statement, are you talking about our generation being more self-orientated and losing a sense of community?
Yeah, well, I feel it just, I wouldn't want to fall into cliches of, just hedonism and everything, because I feel somehow it's a liberation also in many ways of some rules that we inherit, but there was like the weight of tradition has been what ruled the society, like in most of societies until now that's changing so fast. I feel you have a family, you have to have kids, the woman is at home, the husband goes to work, and if you are high class, nobody works, you just live out of the money of the others. So it's great. So basically, but it was very clear, and then suddenly, there's like this discourse of authenticity that in some ways is very nice, because it's like, just try to find, whatever makes you happy. And there's no way, no rule, but that makes also very hard to, there's a discourse of finding yourself that also is sometimes it can be very distracting from the things that you really need. It's a contradiction sometimes, because trying to find yourself, you are not yourself if it's not compared to other people, in a framing of other people, and we sometimes forget. And there's this philosopher who has a whole book about it, basically talking, we all need to be special nowadays, and you can be the guy who has like 14,322 hairs on your head. But what does that mean, like if it doesn't mean anything for somebody else, and I feel there's something in this idea of, and building relationships, a lot of things times happen. I don't think it's just like, professional life against, I wanted to be a little bit aware of that, of professional versus family and versus love. It's more like there's no one route now, so now it's really harder to find somebody who you can partner for a long, long time, and as a choice, not as an obligation, So that's what, and I think the sacrifice thing, it's funny, I had to cut a bunch of the dialogue of the movie because I think it was too explicit, but there was a moment in the ending scene where he was telling her, it's like, we don't know how to sacrifice.
Yeah.
We're a generation that we don't know, and then she says, my parents did sacrifice, and it didn't work out very well for them, So that's true, like there's both sides of sacrifice. It shouldn't feel a sacrifice if not. It's a dangerous line in a relationship, what you have to put effort and what this effort means, because then we start to very easily go to think into relationships as, is it worth it? Should I invest so much effort in this relationship? The outcome is not, so we start to enter with a mentality that it's not about an outcome, it's like, it's love, you give it, and maybe you return it, or maybe not, but, I think it's dangerous to get in those channels, and sacrifice is something you do expecting nothing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a connotation I don't like a lot, I don't, Catholic connotation that is horrible. As a Catholic, I say it, but I'm not practicing, but culturally Catholic. I guess.
Do you have a dream project that you would love to make one day?
A dream project. Wow. It's very hard to say because it's like, to me, it's like things go very one to another, you know? I will, if they would have asked me like 10 years ago, if I will, you know, I would never have said I would have done a movie like the one I did, you know? Like, so it's just presupposing that I'm gonna be something that I'm not, you know, that I'm now in 10 years, and that will be the most horrible thing, you know? I'm the same person in 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
So it's really hard to think. I don't know, I guess doing something meaningful, but there's always like ideas and project, but you know, something that I like at some moment, then you know, you don't have it anymore, and it's just very hard because the ideas changes for me, and it's just like I would love, my project will be like making movies until I'm 105 years old, you know, like Manuel de Oliveira, you know, I'm not a super, I like his movies, I'm not a super fan, but if they ask me which filmmaker would you like to be, it's like him, you know, 105 and making movies, what else do you want?
So do you have a purpose in life, and do you think you're going to fulfill that purpose in life through making a movie?
I know I'm gonna die. So,
Is there a story you really want to tell?
I know. I guess I don't want to think too much because then you just start to get like, oh yeah, I'm an author. You know, that's my discourse about the world, and I should be talking about this. I prefer just to think, you know, what are the things that really worry me, and what are the things that really move me now, and be, you know, be with my instinct at the moment. Because if not, I can get very egocentric too. You start to be, you know, your ego. And your ego is just a part of yourself. You have much more other parts, much more interesting. So yeah, right now I'm interested on investigating relationships of how are changing nowadays. And you know, there's like this like French saying of être de son temps. The realist painters use it. You know, being of your time. You know, that to me it was right now. It's important. Trying to investigate what's happening around me and making films to me is a way to really, you know, being able, the luxury to investigate and also recreate it as kind of you feel. It's a kind of, yeah, it's a luxury job. I'm still weird when they say, oh, are you going to pay me to do this job? Really? So it's great, but sometimes it feels like a blessing more than a job.
Does anybody have a question for Carlos?
In the movie because they have a long distance relationship. But in general, do you feel that technology actually help people get closer, or are they doing the opposite?
No, it's a good question. I don't have an answer for it. No, somehow the movies are for me more questions than answers. There's true. I think technology is like anything, how you use it. You know, it's like atomic energy. Is it good? Depends. But I think the same thing. It can bring you closer, but at the same time, it can bring you farther away because the feeling that you are close, but without being aware of the things that you are missing. You know, if you think that just having a computer, you know, somebody that you can talk every day and pretending that you can have just a normal everyday life with somebody that is so far, you know, that can harm a lot the relationship. Because, you know, at the end, you know, physicality and presence is such an important part of a relationship. At the same time, you know, it can keep you in contact with many people, you know, and I always say the same, but it's like, I talk more sometimes with my parents when I'm abroad than when I'm home. You know, when I'm home, it's like, oh yeah, you go dinner on Sundays, and there's like a bunch of other family people, and blah blah, and you don't say anything. Then when you're in front of computer, then you have to talk, and then it's like, whoa, I've talked about many things that I never expected I would have talked with them. So it all depends, you know, and in the situation. What is important is to see what we lose and what we win, and try to use them the best way as possible.
Hi. First, I wanted to thank you for just coming here and also making this film. I'd gone through a long-distance relationship myself, so some of the stuff was very resonant with me. I just want to ask or say that I really like the song you chose, the Magnetic Field song, Nothing Matters When We're Dancing, for the movie. I thought it was used very well, I think in the two scenes. So I guess, how did you choose that song for this movie?
Yeah. No, it's funny. It's probably one of the very few things that they are still from the very first draft of the movie.
Oh.
It's like actually it was there all the time. I guess at the time coming to Los Angeles, that's when I started writing like almost like 7 years ago, and I was very much rediscovering the magnetic fields and listening again this song. It was like, wow, there's something about this. Stephen Murray has this ability to write these lyrics and sing in a way that is almost cheesy, but it's not. That it goes it appeals to feelings, but with a certain irony that is not sarcastic. And that was kind of the tone for me. I would like to use, I wanted to use some irony, but I didn't want a distant irony. I wanted to be close to the characters and, being able to explore feelings. And of course, there was also a part of the, of the lyrics that has to do with dancing, and dancing is something you can only do when you are, in front of each other. But then through this song, the idea of the scene came on, of them dancing with the computers. So it's okay, nothing happens when we're dancing, but what happens when we are not dancing? So that was a little bit the idea almost that started the movie with.
Thank you.
Hi there.
Hi,
Thanks for bringing us the movie.
thank you.
It was a beautiful film. Wanted to talk to you about the editing. You have a lot of long takes at the beginning, and I love editing. And at one point, Robert Wise said that as an editor, when he became a director, he found that he was shooting more coverage, not less. And at the beginning of the film and throughout the film, you have some really long takes, which also seem to parallel the video conference, because you really don't have another take when you're video conferencing with people. How much of that thought came in for you about what you were shooting? Did you feel as an editor that you wanted more coverage? Did you intentionally go for the longer takes? Did the red camera help that because you didn't have a end of a reel coming and running out of film? How did that affect you, and what was your plan with these longer takes?
I didn't know that that's a quote from Robert Wise, that he shots more. He shot more coverage.
He said that to me. I asked him a while ago, but that is what he said. Is that he always
You met
felt.
him?
I worked for him. He said that.
No, now I'm gonna ask you questions.
I was trying not to
Well, it's
go
like,
there.
I love
but I was
Robert
just,
Wise,
it's just, I love him too. I mean,
Wow.
Brilliant editor. But
Bro-
I mean, I always felt that. That's why I asked him. Was that it was? I would think as a director, your mind would be so focused on what you were going to create that I think he knew exactly what he wanted. He said, no, it just made him shoot more. And you're an editor. Started out as editing and filming, and I'm, especially now that you have the digital tools that he never had, love to know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, no, it's funny, like I have a lot of editor friends who goes into directing. Most of them, they shoot very little coverage, because I think they are more precise on the way that they're gonna use it. It's hardly that they shoot. I think as an editor, you tend to shoot things that you do more takes until you get the right take. And then you don't shoot things you're not gonna use. Sometimes in coverage there's this idea of let's do things just in case. Let's do all this long master, and then I just cover this angle and cover this angle and cover this angle, and then I'll decide on the post. I feel as an editor you already have your editing in your mind pretty much, and when something new happens, you're already thinking in your okay, that new happened, but now I need to shot this thing here. So you're already like taking pieces as they happen, as you get surprised too sometimes. And I think it also makes you wanna, like for example, something that influenced me. I feel like I wouldn't have done this very long take at the beginning if it wasn't the beginning. As an editor, you know that a very long take in the middle of the movie, it's probably gonna go to the bin. Because you have to be a master of having like the rhythm of the whole movie on your mind in a way that it's almost impossible. So in the middle you've created, and then suddenly you end up like breaking it up. But at the beginning you're setting up the tone of your movie. you know, you can see as it's developing what's gonna be, you know, the thing. You don't need to compare it to what's come before and after. And I think that's another difference, probably, or something that makes you think a lot, is you are very aware of what's coming before and after all the time. I guess all directors, but especially as an editor, you know, how you make a transition, you know, from this scene to the other scene, or on the way of shooting it. But to me, the experience with my editor friends is they shoot less, actually. But they shoot more takes.
Did you plan, as I said, longer takes also because of parallel video conferencing that was going to happen later?
Yeah, no.
By chance? Because it kind of feels that same.
There was a total game, you know, thinking of a game of paralleling, you know, the camera and the other camera. And I always fantasized the idea that, you know, webcams are going to be like 4K quality in a few years. And it's going to be like a nice rhyme in there. But it was also, to me, it was important just to be with them. You know, just somehow we discuss a lot with the co-writer, you know, this is somehow a movie about between the difference of being in front of, you know, somebody and the image of somebody, also the difference of a two-shot and a shot reverse shot. You know, a shot reverse shot, then, you know, it feels like they are in front of them, but it's like an abstraction. And somehow, you know, being in front of a computer is an abstraction. So we wanted to follow them so you don't have any cut, you don't have any build-up thing, and just with them, sitting with them, and you share with them this reality. It was not a very like metaphorical. I don't like too much metaphors, but more like giving a feeling. And probably the reason to making this long take, it was not as much the take itself, but the moment of the cut. You know, it's like you feel like the moment you cut, I knew that was going to have an effect, and you're gonna miss through the rest of the movie this moment where they've been together in a space. So that was a little bit the idea between, you know, but it was also like the beginning, the second take, when you see him showing, you know, the apartment.
Right.
Obviously, that was the idea of kind of reminding, you know, the first scene, but somehow then there is a cut, and then you see him in the other room. You know, there's an abstraction in there.
I really appreciated your editing and the way that it was shot. Thanks.
I'll ask you questions about Robert Wise after. Very impressed.
I mean, one of the things, of course, that was in this a lot was moving to the computer technology where you had the lower resolution and other things with lag and pixelation and freezes. Now, did you use those all natural, or were there certain places where you felt you kind of needed special effects to kind of get the feeling that you wanted from that?
So, no, it's funny you say, because I was very concerned, and I really wanted to get this texture of the pixel, you know, and I feel there's some beauty to it. Especially I remember when we started converting, when the codecs, you know, came around, and then you you had these conversions of movies that you have all these like masses of pixels moving to one side to another. It was almost like experimental film, and I have like a lot of safe movies converted of this beauty. And you know, to me, like all video chats, they have this kind of the same feeling. So we shot a short 2 years before, but technology in 2 years got so much better, like a year before, and so we didn't have as much pixels as we wanted. And actually some scenes, obviously there were scenes where it was cutting and breaking up, and then it was like painful because we had to shoot again, and the actress was like, getting crazy. But then, you know, of course, the day we had to shot the scene where the connection breaks, with the dog came and everything, that day the connection was completely perfect. You know, and there was no way we could make it worse. We would say, okay, let's try with a cell phone, 3G, still perfect. We had to move everything out. So I had to do something. I had to do some of the stuff, like basically freezing, just with the freezing and but very simple things. I even do it with the Avid. I didn't have like to do any kind of After Effects thing or anything. But the good thing with, you know, shooting this, you know, with video chat footage, we recorded the screen. So you are actually always shooting 3 cameras somehow. But the good thing is, like, you can make several takes into one. Because even if you've done like 20 takes, you can make a freeze frame and then cut and then put another frame. And so there's a lot of editing hidden in these like jump cuts. That they are not jump cuts, but so that's my little trick there.
Thank you so much. It was a wonderful film.
Thank you, everybody.